podcast is brought to you by Studio17TV.com. Subscribe, rate, and comment if you love what you hear. Connect with @Studio17TV everywhere. Studio. Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Seam's Stylish Conversations powered by Studio 17 TV. It's your girl Devaney here, and I have a very special guest with me today, Miss Altricia Cook from Illusions by Ailey K. She is an amazing designer, and she has taken her brand to such high heights. I'm so excited to have her in the building today. Altricia, how are you?
Hi, Devaney. Thank you so much for having me. Even though, you know, I've had to go through hell and high water to get here.
You did.
Fight so many viruses and strep throat, but I'm so honored to be here, and I'm super excited to chat with you, girl.
I appreciate you so much because you didn't have to. I appreciate you. You sat in that I-4 traffic.
I did.
You overcame that cold.
I did.
We did it. We got you here.
That's what bosses do, right?
Yes, get it done.
Yeah.
No excuses. All right, so let's start this interview off by letting everybody know what it is that you do, introducing yourself. So here you go.
Well, my name is Altricia Ailey K. Cook. I am a millennial entrepreneur, motivational speaker. I call myself an inspirer because I love to inspire people. I started my brand, Illusions by Ailey K. Swimwear, back in 2013. And it was just an idea for me because I couldn't find a high-waist swimsuit to accommodate me. I'm a mom just like you. And, you know, after having your body go through so many different changes, giving birth to a child, my body went through a lot of physical changes. And I refer to them as abdominal imperfections, which are stretch marks. I was just looking for a swimsuit that, you know, masked those stretch marks because although it's very sacred where my son came from, it's just something I don't prefer to share with the world. Still wanted to be sexy in a two-piece swimsuit, and I, you know, came up with the idea, had a tailor to stitch it for me, and my design came to life, and I established a business. And I always tell people that, you know, the roots of my business is fashion because it's a fashion brand, but everything associated with me and my brand's elevation has all been because of who I am as a Southern belle. Mm-hmm. It's all about common courtesy, being polite, and all of those things. So I'm excited to just share some of that raw content with you guys today and my personal experiences as an entrepreneur.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I know you have so much info and insight to offer us. So let's jump right into these questions. So the first thing I want to ask you is, well, you kind of spoke on this part already, where the brand came from or how it sparked. So we know that it came from your experience as a mother and wanting to find that perfect swimsuit. So how do you think that your brand, or how has your brand grown from just that starting point to an idea that you had basically for something personal? How did you extend it to the world?
Well, it wasn't a planned business, and I think that is what's so unique about my story. So often people have these amazing ideas from when they're young and they go to college to cultivate these ideas to gain the business acumen that's needed to push forth an idea. And for me, I didn't take a business class. I didn't take a fashion class. I've always loved fashion, followed fashion trends through different blogs and different social media sites. But I never really, you know, obtained the education or business acumen that may be necessary for someone to start a fashion business. But I was fearless. I was determined, I was eager, I was ambitious. So, you know, a lot of old people say they say you can't make a horse drink water or something like that.
Oh, yeah.
Leave a horse the water, but you can't make him drink it.
Mm-hmm.
But you can give that horse enough salt where he'll be forced to drink the water. And I feel like for me, because I did have that fearlessness and that determination and that ambition, it was almost like the salt that made me crave my way of figuring it out. So Google was my best friend. It wasn't anything that I was ever too afraid or shy to ask someone who could help me. I think a lot of times as millennials, we have these grand ideas. We may even have the contacts, but I often tell my mentees, what good is it to you to have the contacts if you're too shy or afraid to ask for help? If you're drowning, people can't come and save you unless you scream help. So it's like, even the little things, if you just need to be connected with someone, it's just a matter of asking. But a lot of times pride gets in our way, and that has never been my story. And I thank God for that, because, you know, if your girl want it, your girl gonna ask for it. And I encourage people to do that. Nothing beats failure but a try. The worst they can say is no.
Right.
So, I mean, that's literally what landed me to amazing opportunities. Of course, my story, I didn't know I had a story, Devaney. Mm-hmm. It was just when people would feature me, they would tell my truth. Yeah. And that was a story. I never knew that. Like, I didn't have this marketing strategy. Like, it literally just fell into place. And that's why I know that my business, my swimsuit business, and when I think even now, 5 years into business, it's like, wow, you know, I've come so far. But to be very honest with you, I think fashion was the vehicle to get me to the platform of women. But I don't think I'll be doing fashion forever, because to be very frank with you, it takes so much capital to push a fashion brand, even if a t-shirt line. Yeah. And, you know, I've had a lot of opportunities, but when you think about a swimsuit line and, you know, all of the different styles and the collection and just sourcing the fabric, it is a very, very arduous task. And even though I have, you know, made it look super easy and made it look so effortless, you know, it has taken a lot of blood, sweat, and tears. And so, you know, I have dreams and desires, but I've reached so many of my goals. I can walk away from Illusions by Ailey K today and still be a relevant face and contribution to the fashion industry. Right. And I do that because I pay it forward by mentoring people and just, you know, just encouraging people and giving them advice along the way. The things that people, you know, have literally paid for, I've been a person who has given it so relentlessly, because I want people to win. Yeah. It's no fun if you're not paying it forward. You know what I'm saying? And that's what makes my story different. I think, you know, having a mentee like yourself, I mean, you went to school, you were in the fashion industry. Mm-hmm. You took up fashion. I didn't. But I just want to show people like you that it doesn't take, some people think, oh, I need this, I need that. All you really need is a desire and professionalism. You know, you can't just send an email that sounds like a text message to someone who is serious business. You know what I mean? But I feel like I'm talking too much.
No, this is all about you. We want to hear. We need you to drop all these gems and get us all together so we can be professional and fearless. Okay?
Yes, definitely.
So you talked about being fearless. What was your motivator behind that fearlessness? Like, what kept you going through the through this whole journey?
Well, I always say, you know, every moment in my life has prepared me for this very moment, even sitting in this chair. So, you know, I was a young mom. I had my son when I was young. I was 17 when I got pregnant. But even at the age of 17, I told my parents once I told them I was pregnant, I said, I'm still going to college. I'm still going to do everything I had set out to do. And because I've always had those leadership characteristics in me, my parents never thought twice about what I told them, even with me being pregnant. So although I knew that there would be challenges, you know, awaiting me, right, going off to college, 5 hours away from home, being a new mother, being a new college student, I knew there would be challenges, but I was ready for them. You know what I mean? Like, I had my I'm ready to do it cap on, and I did it, you know? And so even that experience alone, I'm not proud of being a teen mother, but I'm proud of the mother that I am. And I think that those moments and having to develop rapport with my peers and my teachers, because it did take a village to help me raise my son, go to school, work 2 jobs, pledge Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, and, you know, be a face on campus where people knew me and being active. I needed everybody around me. So I was never afraid to vocalize, you know, when I needed help. I had to communicate things with my professors, you know. So I think those moments back in 2005, 2006 have helped me really master those things as an entrepreneur. So, you know, just being fearless in a sense of, hey, you know, you're a buyer, you're someone who I can connect with, just to have a network with. You can be someone who can mentor me on how to get my product in stores. And so I always just, you know, look for ways to translate the things that I've already experienced into business.
That's great. So you mentioned about keeping a village around you, not only with raising your son and being in that new environment, being a new mother, being in college, but taking on all those tasks and getting it done. How important do you think it is to keep the right people around you, not just then in your life, but now? And
it's so important. You know, Devaney, on my way here, I had so much time because we were literally in standstill traffic. And I was speaking with my older sister, and I was just letting her know, like, it's so sad that people really don't want... I never thought, now I could be green, I'm 30, but last year was a song that was very popular that came out. It said, "They prayed on my downfall." That was the intro to the song. And I told my fiance, I said, babe, people don't pray on your downfall. Like, I never really thought that people, because I've never been that person.
Yeah.
I've never been around. My parents have never been those people. Like, oh, I hope she fell. But there are people who may not necessarily pray for your downfall, but they're going to rejoice if you, you know, fall. Yeah, or if you fail, absolutely. So it's like being able to discern. First, you have to pray for discernment, because my daddy tells me all the time, everybody that's fanning you, they don't want you cool. People are going to be fanning you because they want to make sure that they're cool, and they want to make it appear that they're actually trying to cool you off, and really they just want to reap those benefits. So... And I have literally given so much. And my mentor said, listen, Altricia, you have to set limits, because as a giver, you have to set limits. Takers don't have limits. So a lot of times people around me who know who I am, they try to protect me. So I was on the phone with my oldest sister, and you know, I'm very big on seeing the good in every situation. It's not that I don't see the writings on the wall. It's just that I choose to look at them in a different light, because I'm just like anybody else. I worked in probation for 6 years. I know how easy it is to confront somebody and it leads to a battery charge. So I'm very conscious of that. We all have that in us. We all, if someone comes to you to say something about you or your kid, that's going to make you go from professional to nuck if you buck, period.
Right.
So it's like you have to just be vigilant and understand that things and people will come against you, and they're only a distraction to get you off track. So back to the question, I have to be very vigilant and recognize that, you know, everybody around me, they don't want to see me win. But even though they don't want to see me win, I just feel like, as, you know, the person who I am, because you wish hate on me, I'm more interested. I went to school for social work. I've always wanted to be a clinician. And I had this talk with Anthony. I said, I'm more interested in if somebody is not happy for my accomplishments when I'm happy for theirs. It's not even about you celebrating me, because you 1, 2, 3, 4 people, I have a whole family that loves me, whether I'm on the Steve Harvey show or I'm just going to work a 9 to 5. They're proud of me for my accomplishments. So I don't need friends to shower me with celebration and love, because I have family that does that. So I'm more interested, my family, they already do that, excuse me. So I'm more interested in, why can't you celebrate me? I'm looking past the actual act of celebrating someone else. I'm looking at what is broken in your life that you need to fix. Because if you can't be happy for someone, whether you know them or not, you have an issue. If you pass somebody's social media scrolling and you can't like a picture because they are having a happy moment, you're broken. It's something, to me, I'm more interested on the deeper effects of what's the issue with you. How can I help you fix your brokenness? You know what I'm saying? So I know that kind of, you know, was deep, but I just look at everything in a sense of, it's always a cause and effect, you know, and I'm interested in helping people resolve issues, which is why I ever even wanted to be a clinician, because my parents, they serve people. They, you know, my parents are ministers, so I watch them serve people, and innately that's who I have become. So I'm always interested in, you know, just fixing situations, and that goes back to having a village, having people around you. It's so important to make sure the people that are around you, granted, you can't look over your shoulder, and I tell people, one bad experience with one entrepreneur, you shouldn't put a wall up, because it's going to stop you from being who you are based on what someone who doesn't even contribute to your life has done to hurt you. You have to move on and accept the apology that you may never get,
Right.
just to free yourself from unforgiveness, because that will block your blessings. And number two, you want people around you that are going to show you the ropes, people around you that are going to, you know, help you along the way. And I'm really, really big on reciprocation. I feel like whenever anyone extends an opportunity to me, I feel an immediate sense of repayment.
Yeah.
Okay, you invited me to this. Okay, how can I do something to give you exposure? How can I do something to repay you? And a lot of times, girl bosses, entrepreneurs, boss babes, whatever you want to call it, girl CEOs, they don't have that in them, and they
Yeah.
wonder, why am I not growing? Well, you have to. I'm really big on reciprocation. Women empowerment, Devaney, that's not just something to attract women. It's something you should live.
Yeah.
And I live that because I model these qualities. So it's like, you know, a lot of people, they're not going to like you because of the way other people love you or the way they see you, you know, on social media, or where they, you know, a lot of times your light causes people who you don't even know to speak on your behalf in your absence. So you just have to know that that's how God created you to be. And you have to understand that there are going to be people around you that don't like that.
Yeah.
But I'm not telling you to look over your shoulder or be insecure or accuse people or any. You can't live your life like that.
Yeah.
You just have to, you know, just live every day and treat people. I treat people, you know, the same until you give me a reason not to. And even in that, I won't hate you, but I'll deal with you accordingly because I won't be used. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So I just said a lot.
You did, but it was so good. And I had to write down notes. I had to write down notes because, like, you touched on so many good things. One thing that I have personally learned from you and taken from you from the first time that I heard you speak at an event here in Orlando was, what's meant for me will not pass me by.
It won't pass me by. And people fight over crumbs.
Yes.
Why will I fight you over? Devaney, why would I don't want to tell her about this fashion event because I don't want her. My best friend sent me this thing last night. Let me pull it up and read it to you. Because let me tell you, when you have warriors around you, you'll never have to reply, say anything, because those dogs around you are like Rottweilers. They're going to shut it down for you because they know how you are.
Yeah.
And my sister, she knows how I am. So she knows that I would never address ignorance. I live by, you know, a queen will never leave her throne to entertain anything less than greatness. So that means gossip. You can't bring me gossip because I'm going to stop you and tell you, whoever you're saying this about, you need to tell them. Whatever question you have about that person, ask them. I can't give you the answer. So a lot of people don't even bring me negative stuff because they know I'm really big on giving people the benefit of the doubt and having mercy on people, because you don't know, people change, people grow up. Not everybody, but it's almost like I choose to be that way. It's not that I'm not being realistic. Some people, my sorority sisters, girl, you're not realistic. Like, come on now, you know that. But I have to, baby. I know how quick it is to get mad at somebody, and you call yourself want to confront somebody, and they raise like they gonna hit you, and both of y'all go to jail for battery. It's not worth it. And some people's like, it's not that deep, but it can lead to that.
It can be that deep.
My best friend, he says, he sent me this. He said, sometimes you're not invited so that you won't steal the attention. And because I am like a very effervescent person, people may see me as, oh, she wants to be the center of attention, but I don't boast about anything that I do because, one, I believe that it's only by God's grace. Two, real swag doesn't brag. So I don't have to tell you what I've done. You just gave this thorough intro when we walked in. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's like, I don't have to do that. But some people feel like because they know what I'm working with, they're intimidated by that. As women, I just really pray every day, like, God, please just let people accept me for who I am, and let me make sure I let people, like, I encourage people to do that by living that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, if you see a beautiful woman walk in the room, you will always, more than always, hear me say, girl, you look so pretty.
Yes.
Or give her a compliment. Not to be fake. Like, I'm not fake. I really mean that kind of thing. Because not just for me, I want other women to say, dang, she's a beautiful woman giving another beautiful woman a compliment. Let me do that.
Yeah.
Be contagious.
Exactly.
In a positive way. And I tell my son, don't just be a leader, be a positive leader, because you can be a negative leader too. So those are the things that I practice on a regular basis. I'm sorry. I feel like I'm talking so much.
No, this interview is literally about you. You could talk
and
as
I feel
much
like I be preaching. I just want people to get it. Like, I feel like when you have someone who has had experiences, listen, absorb it. You don't know, like, and never be afraid to connect with someone. I literally have like 1,400 unread text messages, and I can't get everybody all the time, but I am very passionate about helping people, like being a light. You know, I don't want people to drain me. Like, I don't want to keep telling you, giving you the same advice,
right,
and you're not listening to it. But I want you to understand that, you know, there are some people who have had, you know, so many milestones, and they get too big to pay it forward. To me, it's more meaningful when you pay it forward. Like, some people, oh, I don't, you know, you can just feel vibes from people.
You can.
So it's like you're going to encounter so many people, especially in this podcast. Some people are going to respond back and say, yeah, some people will never respond. And what I will advise you, don't take it personal when they don't respond. Think of it as maybe they're busy. Just find another way. Because the only reason why you wouldn't is because of pride. Like, I don't want to keep asking her. Like, always, instead of coming up with a negative reason or a negative way to combat something, choose to come up with a positive way to do it. And I'm not saying you don't do that.
Yeah.
But I encourage people to do that. Like, just keep trying. Like, nothing beats failure but a try. And if they don't respond, try again. Because sometimes, like me, people respond in their head and they don't really send the send button, but press the send button. But
good. It's so good. You might feel like you're preaching, but you are like dropping gems, and I appreciate it. If don't nobody else appreciate this right here, I do. So know that today you mattered in Devaney's life before anybody else's. Let me swing it back to the fashion thing just for a little bit, just because this is a style podcast, and you have accomplished so much in your business as far as fashion is concerned. You've been on multiple TV shows and had great appearances. Can you tell us about those?
Yes. Well, in 2014, I went to a conference, and another thing is I like to encourage people is to be intentional. What's the point of paying all this money to go to a conference just to say you went? The point to go is to connect with the heavy hitters that will be on the stage so that you can synergize with those people. And even I had only been in business for 1 year. That has always been my mentality as a businesswoman. But again, it's because of the situations that had prepared me for life itself that I've used to translate into my business as a businesswoman. It's who I am. Just being intentional. I went to a conference that was hosted by Cosmo in 2014, and I knew the fashion editor would be there. I was very intentional because I'm like, I'm going to meet her, and this is what I'm going to say. It literally happened like that. Like, they were walking around talking to people. I went up to her, shook her hand, introduced myself, and I had a lookbook. So I wouldn't just say, oh, I do this, that. No, I actually had something to give to her. She gave me her card. I, followed up with her. And a lot of times people go to networking events for fashion and business, and you get business cards. Like, if you're not going to store the number and the email and all of that, it's like just taking up space in your designer bag. So instead of it being a designer bag, it looks more like a designer trash bag. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like taking up business cards and stuff. So anyway, I circled back with her, and she loved like my brand and what it stood for. She's like, hey, we have somebody that we're going to be doing for the July issue. We need something that is 4th of July inspired. And like the year before, my first fashion show, I had a 4th of July collection. And I showed her photos, and she, chose from some, and I sent her, some different samples to use on the model. Well, the model was Nicki Minaj, and it was on the cover. So that within itself, was kind of buzzworthy, because had I been too scared, like some people say, oh, if I meet Oprah, I'm going to say this and that.
Are you?
I always feel like 90% of people that say if they meet Oprah, I feel like 90% of those people will be so lost for words because they see her, they won't even say anything. They'll get scared. But I'll be a part of that percent that will give her an elevator pitch and just try to get to know her, obviously, as a person. Obviously, my admiration for her, but I just feel like when you have an opportunity, you know, or if you don't have an opportunity, you create it in fashion or in anything that you're doing, because, you know, whenever you are ambitious and you're fearless, it's like you figure it out. So when all that happened with Nicki Minaj, everything else was just literally, you know, kind of overwhelmed me. And I went on The Real, and they had a mommy fashion show, and I was able to tell my story, how I was a teen mom and all that kind of stuff. And Taye Diggs was there that day that I recorded, so that was an extra plus. But I just always think, I'm always amazed in the power of social media and the power of how, you know, the blogs and being featured and all that. You just never know who's gonna see it.
Yeah.
And then one of the producers from the Steve Harvey show, they brought me on for a segment called The Next Big Success, which was like a pitch competition to win $10,000. And the producer, he said that he read about me in an article with Redbook magazine from a while ago, and he's like, I love your story. We want you to come on to do this pitch competition to win 10K. I didn't win 10K, but I still won. You get what I'm saying? Because it was an opportunity to, you know, share my story and my brand and all that. But I was also on Fab Life. They only did a pilot of that show. That was Tyra Banks' show. I was on there as well about my swimsuits, and, you know, I'm just grateful for everything, because, again, had I been this shy person, had I been this person that waited until I had a this and a that before I, you know, hit the ground running with my business, I would have never been successful.
That's awesome. That's so much motivation, because a lot of times as an entrepreneur or as someone who has an idea, who's just a creative who wants to take it to a certain level, you like hesitate and be like, oh, I don't have this. Oh, I don't have that. I'm going to start because of this. But you can't let those things hold you back, because just like you said, you went forward and God
I didn't even have a website.
See?
So it was like I used Instagram as my main portal to market my business. And did I want a website? Yes, because when I first started my business, Stephanie, I said that I wanted my swimsuits to be in department stores. I didn't know how it would happen, but that has always been my talk. And I'm very big on the power of words too. You know, Oprah said, always create the grandest, highest vision for yourself, because you become what you believe. Even in the Bible say death and life is in the power of the tongue. So, you know, I speak life. I don't say, oh, that's killing me, or I'm killing myself. I don't use those kind of words at all, because I ain't trying to die. I'm just 30, or, you know, I'm just very, very cautious of what I say. And not just in fashion, but just as a person, as a mother. I don't call kids bad, even though they may be I don't call them bad. So I'm really big on words, and I mean, you know, you can't just speak it, you have to actually do. A lot of times people just feel like it's just gonna fall out of the sky. And it doesn't work like that. But I'm just blessed, you know, to have done the things in fashion that I've done. People wait forever to do. And I'm just blessed. I am.
So good. You've taught me so much about the power of words, the power of perspective, the power of empowering the next person. So much great advice. I really appreciate you coming here today. Yes. Like, you have dropped so many gems, and I really hope that everybody who's listening to this podcast really takes away these words that she's given us. But to wrap it all the way up, I just would like for you to give me give anyone listening just kind of like 3 tips maybe for the entrepreneur who might be wanting to start a business or might be wanting to start something creative. Like, what are just 3 tips or go-to tips that you think would help them or me move forward?
I said in the beginning, I didn't have a planned business. And even though I didn't have a planned business, that just means that I never planned to start a swimsuit line. But even though it wasn't planned, I had to create a plan. You know what I mean? Like, so you have to write it down. Mm-hmm. Once you write it down, you then have to figure out, okay, well, who do I need to talk to? You have to connect the dots. And that's why, like, being shy and being an entrepreneur, those things don't mix. I mean, maybe you can be an introvert, but you have to figure out a way that you have to get past that and just get the shakes out of the way to help you be progressive. And once I got, did my plan, I just continued to use social media. And then before I was even in business for like 2 months, I was sending off international orders. I don't know. I just feel like when you're passionate about something, that is what will fuel you. Like, it won't be like, how do I do it? It'll be like, who do I need to talk to get it done? And just the power of gratitude, a simple thank you, especially in fashion. People in fashion, as you know, like, people can be very catty, very like snooty, very, very rude, for lack of a better word. Especially like in New York, like they're not nice, pretty much. Like, oh no, you're too fat, keep it moving. Yeah. So I just found that being a light and just showing gratitude and just being a Southern belle, all I know how to be, those are the things that help me cultivate relationships with people. Thank you so much for this opportunity. I really appreciate it. So the next opportunity rolls around, they're not going to look. They're going to just call you because they know that you'll appreciate it. Too often, people will ask you for a contact, but they won't even say thank you when you give it to them. Too often, people will, invite you to do this and that, but they won't even, you don't have to. And I tell people, when you're starting, it's not all about the money. I think sometimes business people and this new whole wave of girl bosses, they are looking for a coin so bad that they forget the fundamentals of being human. It's not always about money because some opportunities are truly invaluable.
Yeah.
I just think that you just have to just show gratitude. Like I tell you, like I said in this podcast, it wasn't the fashion. Yeah, my designs were cute, but it was more of who I am as a person that allowed that fashion editor to want to even give me an opportunity. You know what I mean? So it's like, and Nicki Minaj, when she was there, because she told me she said she could have chosen any swimsuit, but it was kind of like, she said, do you like this swimsuit? She didn't have to do that, but she knew how much that would mean for me and my business. You get what I'm saying? Yeah. Like some people, they miss that whole, they have the professionalism, they have a great idea, but their attitude, they don't have that being humble. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't matter how many nationally syndicated television shows, stages that I have graced, I'm still Atricia Cook. And I think that that's what sets me apart as an entrepreneur. Like, I'm always grateful, thank you. Some people, but they don't want to feel like somebody put them on or somebody helped them. Like, they won't even say, tag you, thank you so much, Devaney, for connecting me with this person, because they don't want the outside world to think that you helped them. You know what I mean? That's very crazy to me. But entrepreneurs, whoever is out there listening, if you have a business idea and you're just trying to, step out, just listen to the things that I've said. Have a plan. Sometimes you have to connect your own dots. You can't wait for people to do it. No one owes you anything. And then be grateful. Have gratitude. Thank people. A simple thank you. You would think that you don't have to tell adults that, but people will come where they feel entitled. Have gratitude. Follow up with people. Follow up. Even if you have to follow up more than once, just know that the purpose of you, because we've all chased something that we shouldn't have been chasing. So why not chase something that can really, be a pivotal turning point for your future? Right. So follow up with people, show gratitude, follow up, have a plan, be ambitious. People tell you to stay consistent. I agree with all of that. Just be a light. I don't know. Like, don't be negative. Don't be a person that repeats gossip and all that kind of stuff. Just be a light. And whenever you are a woman who walks in her purpose, your light will cause people to recommend you in your absence. It'll cause people to want to pursue you for different opportunities and pay you. So, just stay faithful. And I always say the main focus is to remain focused. You have to recognize the things that will come as distractions. Those things are only to come to get you off track, so you can't indulge in those things.
So much good stuff, girl. I appreciate you so much.
You're so welcome, boo.
I am gonna wrap up this episode of Seams Stylish Conversations, powered by Studio 17 TV. And again, thank you, Artrisha, for being here. We'll see you guys next time. Bye.
Welcome to Fly Dialogues, an artist interview series dedicated to providing a deeper look into the real people behind the artistry. I'm your host, Kadeem Stewart. Welcome back. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Fly Dialogues. Today I had the opportunity to chop it up with Art of Rob. While we bonded over our many similarities in both our personal and artistic life, we discussed legacy, what that means for us respectively, but what that even looks like in the fast food social media culture that we are participants of. So without any further ado, enjoy episode 9. Thank you for tuning in for another episode of Fly Dialogues. I am your host, Kadeem Stewart, and today I am here with
Rob Johnson, aka Art of Rob, watercolor artist.
All right, Rob. So give the people a little background of who you are. What do you do?
Well, I'm a watercolor artist, a son, brother, uncle, husband, father, black man, very proud, very stubborn.
All right, so how did you get into watercolor?
How did I get into watercolor? Well, I've always loved art, but it was acrylics that I first started, and I couldn't get the emotion out of it. So I actually was in an art supply store here in Orlando, and there was a watercolor aisle. And I never talk to people because I stick to myself. So one of the things that I walked up to this lady and I was like, how do you like painting with watercolor? And she was like, it's so good, you should try it. And then she was like, I can't do the acrylics, I can't do the oils because of the fumes. And I was like, oh, I can't do that either. So she was talking it up really good. She should actually work in sales. But she handed me this little starter set, a little QOR starter set with like 3 or 4 colors. And she was like, try this. I guarantee you'll love it. So I took it home and I sketched out a LeBron James and a James Harden. And I looked at it, and I started painting with it. I bought some cheap brushes at the same time. And I was like, okay, I might have something. It might be this might work. I got the emotion I started to get the emotion out of it that I wanted because I can, work quickly and, often if I start on the left, I can go to the top right. The bottom left, I can go to the top right. Bottom right, I can go to the top left, and it'll be dry by the time I get there. And I was pretty proud of that. So I had to go pick up my son. So what I did, I took the papers and I put them on the living room table, and went to go pick up my son. And my wife calls me and she says, "Did you go out and buy artwork?" And I was like, "No." And she was like, "Well, where did these pictures come from?" I was like, she didn't come out like in a malicious way, try to come at my neck or anything, but it was, she just wanted to know where this stuff came from. And I was like, I painted those. And she was like, get out of here. So I was like, nah, seriously, I did. So when I saw that, and like I said, my wife she's very honest, and very honest. To the point where, it frustrates me at the time, but I'm the same way, so I can understand why she gets frustrated with me. So if I'm able to fool her mind and actually think that that's somebody else's work, I was like, I got something. Yeah. So, that grew from that moment. But yeah, that's pretty much where it came from, man. It just all started from that moment on.
I mean, it's good that you have an honest wife because I feel like as artists, a lot of times we have so many people that's like, oh my gosh, that's amazing. Oh my gosh, that's amazing. And it's like a cross between they're just amazed because they can't do it. Mm-hmm. But then also, this sounds bad, but like I hate super, super supportive people. Like I'm not out here to crush anyone's dreams or anything like that. Yeah. But if you're an artist or whatever of whatever medium and you're putting out something that isn't the best, I feel like there should be somebody in your ear saying like, hey, I like what you're doing, but I don't like this. Because if they're out there being mediocre and people are just like, oh my God, that's amazing, they have no reason to try and strive for something else. So it's like I always sound like mean on just like, when it comes to like honesty like that, but it's just like if my words are enough to stop you in your dream, then you didn't really want it. That's the way I look at it.
That's how, and that right there is like when I do art shows. I'm so glad you brought that up, because when I do art shows, I always see people when they walk by the tent or when they're walking towards the tent, and I see their reactions. And they're like, they'll look at them and, they'll point them out. Certain people, being that I paint sports, they will start calling out the names of each person. And then like they'll, like if it's rare because when you go to an art show, you'll see a guy and his wife, and it sounds so, stereotypical, cliche, whatever, but usually the wife is the one that wants to go to the art show. Mm-hmm. They'll drag the kids with them. But then when the guy freezes up and he's like, oh my God, look at this. Like it's this guy, but where's this guy? And I'm sitting up there like, okay, I might actually have something if I know that males are usually kind of standoffish with, anything that's like not entertainment based or do it yourself based. I hate to say it like that because we are deeper, but we don't want to spend $5,000 on a painting. Yeah. Like we're like, man, I can just get a fat head and put it up on the wall. Yeah. And that's the actual picture of this person. Mm-hmm. But when they see like artwork and they're saying, oh man, this is really good, I can actually believe that because I know we're very, some of us are very blunt. Women are very blunt too. Yeah. But when it comes down to having people tell you the truth about your art, what was it? I was listening to another podcast where a guy was sitting up there saying that you're never as good as they say you are and you're never as bad as they say you are. Mm. So I'm my worst critic over anybody. Oh, yeah. One of the highest posts that I had on Instagram was one that I did where I was showing people the paintings that I felt that I failed at. Like, in failure is like part of me. It's one of the things that I'm very good at. So when I put that out there, everybody was like, if I showed 10 paintings, everybody was like, 8 of those are really, really good. Mm-hmm. And the other 2 aren't good because we can see where you got frustrated. And I'm like, wow, it's crazy that's one of the highest posts that I ever had. Not the one that I actually felt like I did something, but the ones that I felt like I failed and people are telling me that it's good. So it is fun to have honest people around because you know that you'll never, when you have like an honest person, when you know that you have a real person, it's a lonely thing for that person to be that way. Yeah. And because I'm that way as well. I alienate myself from a lot of people because of my honesty, but at the same time, you never get bored.
That's the truth.
And people are always willing to ask your opinion about stuff.
Oh my God, yes. When I say you preaching right now.
I know. It's like I always get these random texts from people, and I was like, dang, I thought this person. Listen, I know you're busy, and I'm really sorry to bother you, but can you actually take a look at this and tell me what you think about it? Mm-hmm. Now, I will. I'm not gonna do the Paula Abdul. Yeah. You come in here and you say that you sing. You come in here and you're like, you say that you sing, and I'm like, well, you really did good on that line. I will do that to certain things, but at certain times you just gotta say, hey man, this ain't what you need to be doing right now. And a lot of times with art, the thing is that there's no rules.
Yeah, absolutely none.
So, I always look at these articles where these certain painters, not even the big names like Jean-Michel Basquiat or any of these other guys, but some of these people just sit up there, put paint in a can and throw it up there. I like that kind of stuff. Some people are like, that takes no talent. So it's like, yeah, you can say what you want, but you gotta have a lot of audacity when you're an artist.
Oh, yeah.
You gotta sit up there and be like, man, I'm gonna do this and see what these people, and I'm looking at it like, do you not understand how many layers it takes for me to paint a hand and this guy can just splash? I get upset about that, but at the same time, I'm like, that is so awesome. The fact that you did that, you get $10,000 for that painting. Somebody's winning.
Yeah.
So I know that as long as I keep going, I might actually run into a situation where I can simplify my artwork and get into that same lane. So honesty actually, it forms you. Lies don't form you.
Yeah.
Lies will lies will form you, but it's not in a positive manner. Honesty forms you, even if it's, because the thing is that when you're being honest with somebody, you have every right to be honest, and they have every right to have whatever reaction that they have. But at the end of the day, they're gonna find out that you are the person that's gonna be honest with them. And I hear it all the time, Rob, you know what? You're right. All this sexual harassment stuff that's going on right now. At my place of employment, I'm always telling, yo, dude, don't say that stuff.
Yeah.
Don't do that out in public. Don't, guys with like office wives and stuff like that. And I'm like, yo, dude, bro, hey, listen.
Set up.
Don't rock that boat, man. What do you mean, Robinson? Oh no, she's cool. I was like, that's cool. I was like, I'm pretty sure this guy thought the same thing. You may not have millions of dollars, but you just being okay, cool. Now they kind of like, all right, let me dial it back now. This is about this starting to change. That kind of honesty, and now they're coming up to me like, yo, I should have just listened to you, man. Just did this and then I was like, I'm not always right.
Yeah.
I'm not like for you, for instance, you don't seem like a person that's going to waste your words. I don't waste my words.
Exactly.
After I tell you probably about the second time, after that I'm gonna let you burn yourself.
Yeah.
But if I'm actually saying something to you, there's a reason why I'm saying it. So, I'm not bored. I'm not that bored with my life to actually wanna. I got 2 kids, man. I got a wife. I have to make sure that they're all good. I'm not that bored to actually lie to you, and I'm not afraid of you neither.
Yeah.
So,
like for me, I feel like a lot of times I don't care enough to lie. Like I feel like it's a waste of energy.
Right there.
It's a waste of my time. It's a waste of my imagination.
Yes.
And it's like there's very much power in words. And like in regular speak, I curse a lot.
Yes, me too.
When I'm arguing with somebody, I do not curse at all because a lot of people try to use the guise of, oh, I was upset, I didn't mean, no, like that came from somewhere. So like if I'm if I'm upset with somebody and I'm arguing with them, I do not curse at all. That's because I don't want anything to be misconstrued, and like understand that like I mean these words. And all that, oh, I'm gonna say it to hurt you because I feel hurt. Like, nah, that doesn't fly. And even like in relationships, I let girls know whatever you say during an argument stands.
Right.
So like choose your words carefully because like I have no problems cutting it. But
that's funny because I'm like, I think I'm very gifted at cursing as well. But when I get upset, it's flame on, bro. I can go. I can be very creative with words, and I get loud, and I see an enemy. When like if it's a discussion, that's one thing. When it's an argument or an accusation or something like that, I lose it. Oh yeah. You can pretty much paint me however you want to paint me. Like they say, homeboy said, don't argue with fools because from a distance, you can't tell who is who. Yeah. When it comes to that kind of stuff, you're absolutely right. I turn into an A1 idiot when it comes to that kind of stuff. So that's a gift, the fact that when
because if I get to like cursing, that means like nothing's happening from here on out. Like, I'm ready to burn this bridge. I'm cool with whatever happens next. But then, like, even back onto the artist or artistic standpoint, it took me a while to kind of stop validating those who weren't professionals or artists or anything like that, just because, like, everybody has an opinion. So it's just like, it's up to you whether or not you take it. And then if you take it with a grain of salt, because everybody has different tastes. Everything isn't for everyone. But at the same time, most consumers are not well trained in whatever they're consuming.
That's very true.
So if someone who knows nothing about painting or nothing about photography sees a picture and they like or dislike it, you can't tell them that their opinion is wrong because they don't know what went into making that painting or that composition on a photo standpoint.
Right.
So it's just like, you have to find that balance between, okay, what they say, okay, I understand why they don't like it. Maybe that's something I can do in the future to appease someone with that taste, or be like, yo, F it. Like, you don't like it, you don't like it. There's somebody else who likes it. But I know for me, it took me a while to be like, okay, I put a lot of time into this concept.
Right.
You don't like it. You don't even know what you're talking about. You don't understand, like, what I did with the lighting, why these lines are leading here, this, and that. And then I was just like, you know what? Like, kind of back, Kadeem. Like, if they're spending their money, they have every reason to be like, yo, I like it or I don't like it.
Right.
And it took me a minute to kind of get to that. But anyways, I digress. How did you get your start in art, period?
Oh, well, I started off customizing sneakers. I think that's where I actually started to, because one of the things with being an artist is you can be an artist behind closed doors, but when you get to the point where you want to show people the art, it's totally different.
Yeah.
So, my family is, we're very deep in history. We really, we love our history. And my father, his mother, has, she's curated museums up and down, all across the world, really. She's been a part in African American history. She's worked for Motown. She's like I said, he's really gonna kill me when I act like I don't know what she does. But she's done a lot in the art world. Like, you visit the house, there's artwork from the ceiling to the floor. All sorts of African art, all sorts of African American art. She had books on different techniques in the house, in her house. And it was just amazing to see that. Now, as far as my parents were, they weren't paying like thousands of dollars for artwork, but they bought prints. My dad is an Army colonel, and when we were at Fort Leavenworth, they got into a lot of the Buffalo Soldier art. Okay. And my mom is, she went to school for architecture. She graduated, and on top of that, she went on to be a professional framer. So she actually was around a whole lot of artwork, and we would go into, her job with her. I remember we were at Kansas City once again. She worked at a place called the Wall Place, and we'd go in there, and it'd be artists going in and out, clients coming in and out, and you just never knew what you were going to see when you walked in there. And I just remember myself being absorbed with that. And then from there on, that was important. But then again, it was comic books. Marvel comics, to be specific. I love DC. I love Batman. Batman the animated series really more than the actual comic book. But it was comic books that helped out a lot. So it's it can be everywhere because art is everywhere, but those were the main points. It was, my family, their history, and them teaching history, and then my mom's profession and then comic books.
Okay. So what was it about Marvel that really pulled for you?
Okay, so being that my family is deeply, like real deep into our history, X-Men were, that was the thing, that was the comic book that got my attention. And I couldn't have been, I think I was probably in 3rd or 4th, maybe 5th grade. Mm-hmm. But my parents made sure that me and my brother knew who we were. So we were always, I think it was We Shall Overcome. I think that was like the DVD series, and I mean not the DVD, well, the videotape series at the time. And we were watching that, and you see the things that were happening to people of color. You saw how how the discrimination went. And I remember picking up an X-Men comic and seeing the discrimination in there, and I picked up on that right away. Mm-hmm. But the difference was that outside of their mutant powers, these people looked just like, the people that they were discriminating. So it wasn't the fact that it was skin color, it was just the fact that they were just different. Yeah. And that just blew my mind as a child. So I didn't necessarily know all the big words, but it was exciting, number one, because the artwork was crazy. Yeah. Like back then, you could see, like it wasn't all this digital stuff as it is now, not to take away from that, because that's just another medium. But you could see the detail, like first thing I would do when I pick up a comic book was flip through it first. See, oh man, I'm gonna see if I can see any full page stuff. See if I, if I look at a picture and I'm like, man, I gotta get home and draw that. It would never look like it. But I would attempt to, no matter what the story was. But then once I started getting into the story at an early age, still, it just attracted me. So the Professor X Magneto comparison to Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, I picked up on that very early. My brother picked up on that very early because of our history, our parents. And I don't know if they knew, but they were, maybe they were just happy that we were reading. Mm-hmm. But like that really elevated it. And then on top of that, it was art. So it was just like, man, this is
best
crazy.
Of both worlds.
Yeah, and that's why it's a dream to grow up today and see these movies. Be like, I don't care if they're good or bad, man. It's the fact that somebody's out here trying to make it.
Nah, that's very true. Because like for me, I always loved X-Men, but I didn't pick up on like the Professor X, Magneto, MLK until like probably middle school. And when I picked up on it, like my mind was blown because I'm a first generation American. My parents are from Jamaica. Right. And they moved here in the 80s. So they were adults when they came to the States. So like they weren't here for like civil rights. So like my personal history was a little bit removed in comparison to like one of my best friends, his father and grandfather like were in Chicago for like civil rights and all that type of stuff, and like just the stories that his grandfather would tell. But like these are things that like his grandfather would like pass down, like this is what I experienced. My grandparents had a farm in Jamaica. I'm out there chasing chickens and goats and all that type of stuff. Right. But like when I made that connection in middle school, it just elevated it so much more, because it's just like all humans love when one or more things that they're into comes together. Because when I noticed Marvel doing the hip hop variant covers, my mind was blown. I was like, yo, Marvel is the best. Like, like how
you can't top
this.
That.
Not
like,
words, bro. I was just like, oh my goodness, it just threw me. But yeah, just comic books. Because that, like when I was a kid, I started tracing from comic books. I'm just like, ooh, I want to draw this, I want to draw that. I would trace it one time and then try and draw it freehand another time, and then just kind of go back and forth until it got a little bit close. I mean, at first it was trash, but slowly building up to that. But nah, that's great. Damn, I can't remember if I asked this time or last time. Are you classically trained in any way?
I am not. Other than, the last art class that I took was grade 12. And, like I said, I'm actually 35 tomorrow. So it's no, I'm not classically trained. Just a lot of studying, a lot of admiring, a lot of trial and error, a lot of failure, a lot of failure. Like I said, I spent so much money to get here. You know, to the point where, like I said, I started out with acrylic. so it would almost be the same way with art. But the thing about art that I always gravitated to was the fact that there are no rules.
Yeah.
So why not pursue that? But no classic train, no teachers, nobody to tell me something was right or wrong, no grades handed out. Great art teachers in high school, but one great art teacher in high school. But outside of that, nah. And it was only because she was kind, really, that I probably felt comfortable with it. So outside of that, man, it wasn't.
What was your experience with oil?
Oh, it was a horrible experience. It was thick. It was just different, man. It was like, for me, when I deal with watercolor, man, it's like I can do anything with this. And on top of that, it has a mind of its own. If I put something down on the paper, it's 10 times out of 10, it's not going to look like that. It'll probably be, if I'm very careful, but you don't want to micromanage it. Yeah. If I'm very careful, it'll be very similar to the way that I put it down when it was wet. When you put something down on acrylic or the way that I was painting, by the way, because like I said, I was no good. But when you put something on a canvas or a paper or anything, how you put it on there is pretty much how it's going to look. Yeah. So you could probably, there was no, to me, there was no surprise about it other than, oh, it was wet, now it's dry. That was kind of crazy to me. It just didn't speak to me. The layers, it was literally layers. Yeah. So it was like I couldn't get any kind of emotion out of it. It didn't turn my mind on to the point where I was like, okay, let's go be creative. Let's see what we can do. It was just like, okay, Rob, try to make this look like that. Yeah. There was no, okay, so I have a darker skin tone that I need to make. Okay, let's get that skin tone created. All right, now let's put teal on top of that skin tone. It wasn't like that. It was like, just get to this point, man, so we can move on. So it felt like I was doing a job. Yeah. It didn't feel like I was creating something. It didn't feel like I was using, it didn't feel like I was free. So the oil, it was different for me. Now, would I love to learn how to do it? Yes, absolutely. But the thing is that once I learn something from somebody, all of a sudden I'm gonna start painting like that person. Yeah. So there's not too much that I can actually soak up. So now I just figure I'd stay away from that for now.
I did one oil painting and I'll never touch it again. Yeah. Because honestly, I don't even know if that painting ever dried.
They never do.
It took me like a week. I was like, all right, I'm not gonna touch this. Okay, cool.